But it looks like the police are trying to cause a scene. Look at that! Look what they're doing! Look what the police are doing!
How dare you? It's an insurrection in England.
There was a widespread use of asylum hotels by the Conservatives that increased enormously at enormous cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah, you keep going back to Conservatives. I wanted to ask you,
yes, but it won't be a quick fix. We will sort it.
Specifically, they said that this must be so under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which the government was bound. We have to. A judge in the UK issued a bizarre order, and now the English are very unhappy. This is coming out of Epping, and this judge is the man responsible for essentially saying that illegal aliens have more rights than English citizens. And you can see, even in this statement here that was clipped from us from Robert Jenrick, he says the most important factor against the grant of relief is the importance of public interest in the accommodation of destitute asylum seekers, right? They're here seeking asylum. Many of them are illegal. And so they can go and stay at this residence. Now, as noted above, that is a public interest recognized by the imposition of a statutory duty. So the government has to accommodate and use the hotel for these asylum seekers. And so we have to consider all of this. And if we move them, it's going to be a disruption to their lives. And all of them are all now registered with local medical practices. And so they're really comfortable here. So we're not going to do anything about it. And so if you have a problem with that, because this is your land and your country and your property and your taxes and your services that are entitled for you and your family, then sorry, okay, because the foreigners now have more rights than you. And lots of questions about this judge. Here's a little snippet of what it sounded like, but this was the judge. This is the Epping Hotel court case. And a lot of questions about this dude and his background wanting to facilitate an invasion like this. But here's what it sounded like out of Court of Appeals in the UK.
Therefore, we grant permission to appeal both to Somani and to the Home Secretary against the grant of the interim injunction.
Okay, so an injunction saying you can't use the hotel for illegals. They grant the appeal. They lift the injunction so you can use the hotel for foreigners. Maybe not illegals per se, but foreigners.
We allow the appeals and we set aside the injunction imposed on 19 August 2025.
Okay, so the limitation that was granted is now lifted.
The case management directions given by the judge can remain in force, subject to any amendment necessitated by the joinder of the Home Secretary as an intervener. We direct that submissions on costs are to be exchanged and filed.
All right, yeah, probably want to pay for all the illegals lawyers too as well. But questions about this judge, right? Here's some background from the Daily Mail. They say, the judge who ruled that the Migrant Hotel can remain open is reported now to Conduct Office over his historic links to left-wing organizations. That left-wingers love to wreck the nation state because you can't inculcate people with communism if they've got capitalism in their brains. So you got to break the system. You got to take the family apart. You got to water down the domestic population that demands high standards and wants accountability from your bureaucrats and is furious and outraged when they try to wreck your lives. They don't want that. So they just want to neuter you, okay? Just kind of water you down. All of us, we're all a part of this. It's happening everywhere across the world. We're being invaded by the third world for a specific purpose. It's not out of humanitarian ends or interest. It's to break down our nation states. Because if the population is not filled with domestic citizens, then you can make it in however you want because other people don't have the same culture, the same values, the same appreciation for the country. They want to come in and change it to make it like their homeland for some reason, even though they left their homeland. But here, this judge is a lefty. You got to break down the system before you can rebuild it in your own communist vision. Lord Justice Bean delivered the landmark Court of Appeal ruling, which meant an initial injunction that prevented the Epping Forest from housing migrants no longer valid. Okay, you don't have to house them, now you do. He was sitting with two other judges. He said the initial judge made a number of errors in principle, and now you can continue to use the hotels to house asylum seekers. But a leading barrister has referred this judge over in the UK to the Judicial Conduct of Investigations to deal with discipline because he was the chairman of the Socialist Fabian Society from 1989 to 1990, and that works very closely with the Labour Party. He was succeeded by Labour grandees, including other former Foreign Secretary Robin Cook and even the London Mayor Sadiq Khan. Isn't that great? They're all peas in a pod. He was one of the founding members of the Matrix Chambers along with Sherry Blair and others, and he's also reported to have served as the treasurer of the Society of Labor Lawyers, which describes itself as a think tank affiliated socialist society, right? That's what's going on over there in the UK. So this guy issued the ruling, and they're still doing the hats, I guess, over there sometimes. And here is reaction, okay? So people are very unhappy about this, rightfully so. Now, writing after Friday's ruling, barrister Stephen Barrett, who referred the judge, said he should not have heard the Bell Hotel appeal. He should have recused himself. I highlighted this issue before the judgment because it was an issue already. The issue is apparent bias. Justice must be seen to being done, and there's an appearance of impropriety here. And these so-called migrants are attacking people all over England. And so they are now reacting. Shout out to our friends in England who are now marching. Elon Musk even reposting this. Shout out to our friends overseas flagging the UK flag for us. And here's what it looked like with the English and others in Great Britain marching down the streets. Now, you'll see a lot of nice flags over there, right? English flags, the Great Britain flags, UK flags, all there. A lot of proud people of their homeland and what the flag stands for. But what's interesting is somebody got arrested for flying a flag over there. This woman here, a woman, has been arrested for flying a British flag at the Epping Council building. The Epping Council says, we don't want that flag here, okay? It's gonna cause a problem if you just stand here over this railing and drape the flag. Take it down!
But it looks like the police are trying to cause a scene. Look at that! Look what they're doing! Look what the police are doing!
How dare you! It's an insurrection in England!
What are the police doing here?
Down the stairs. It's not safe on these stairs.
What are they doing?
Just for the bottom of the stairs.
Look at them.
Have a look at this.
It's like 3 people on 1 woman? Wow. All right. So they drop the flag and they just probably step all over it. These little, brown shirts over here in the blue shirts today. But they're there arresting English ladies who are there just trying to wave their flag to remind everybody that this is England. This is Great Britain. This is the UK. This is not a foreign country, and we're not going to stand for our invasion. Now, Keir Starmer, who is the prime minister over there of the UK, he posted about this. He says, well, I'm proud of our flag as a patriotic symbol of our nation. Like lots of people, I've proudly got one up at home. Using our flag to divide devalues it. What? Divide? From what? Divide who from who? Are you in England? Or are you taking that to a foreign country and flying it there? Because I think the foreign flags that are coming into your country and being waved around, just like we have in our country, all over the place, even in our congressional buildings, foreign flags all over the place. That feels divisive to me because it's a foreign flag, and of course flags are utilized in conquest. You hoist your flag after you've captured the building and the castle, okay? It's symbolic of conquest, which is why the trans and the gays want it all over all the city sidewalks everywhere. So using our flag to divide it devalues it. And of course, man, he's getting ripped in the cold, raked over the coals in the comments with this questioning goose. Why is it divisive? Why is it divisive? However you want to say the word. He doesn't want to answer that. Yeah, because they're inviting foreigners in. And guess what? The foreigners don't like the British flag. They don't like the UK flag because it doesn't represent them. That's why they're so mad. That's why it's divisive. How dare you? This is our country. In the United States where they bring in all the Somalians and then change the flag to look like a Somalian flag. Strange times. So Molly Hemingway also says comments such as this from the Prime Minister sure make it seem like the UK has already fallen. How dare you, says Lee Harris, assume that people who fly our flag are using it to divide us. They're regular Brits who love their country and hate what you're doing to it. Resign, you vile man. And Carl Benjamin, who has the English flag in there, you know, that's one we can appreciate. England is for the English first. If that's divisive to your client communities, then so be it. It's called England, not a foreign country wherever these people are coming from. So interesting to see that happening there. Now, there was more marching and protesting. They've also arrested this dude. They call it racial hatred, okay? This guy's getting arrested for racial hatred, which is a strange concept. I mean, they're trying to do that here in America too. And, you know, at least in America, I don't know what's going on over there in the UK. You're free to be a hateful person. You can hate whoever you want in America. That's your right. You can't go attack them or do criminal actions on behalf of that, but you're allowed to have racial hatred. So that was happening. That guy got arrested. We saw they're arresting the flag. Here's some more. Police are now pepper spraying people at International Hotel as families are protesting. Their children are going back to school. Kids are all going back to school. So things are getting spicy over there because people are just tired of it. And I can't imagine, you know, why they would continue to take it, honestly. And so they're not. Lee Harris also is sharing this. So a lot of the UK media is also talking about this. And they brought this woman on. Apparently, he says she's Labour MP, Bridget Phillipson. She's asked, do you agree with the Home Office, which is the government, that the rights of illegal migrants are more important than the rights of the people of Epping? Here's what she says.
And I know people don't like us even a year in as a government saying this is what we inherited, right? There was a widespread use of asylum hotels by the Conservatives that increased enormously at enormous cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah, you keep going back to Conservative.
And I wanted to ask you... Yes, but it won't be a quick fix. We will sort it.
Your lawyers, under your guidance, have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear? It's up to you. Ministers can say, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do.
And they cut it. So yeah, of course they do, okay? Now, Zero Hedge also explained this. He said, clear what the plan is for Europe. The ECB chief Lagarde said Europe can no longer grow without massive migration, right? It's all just economics and demographics, saying we just don't have enough Germans who are having babies and replacing ourselves. She claimed that German GDP would be roughly 6% lower today than in 2019 without foreign workers. So it's all just about the money. It's all just about GDP and number must go up. Is that what it is? Rather than thinking about the sanctity and the well-being and the welfare of your citizenry, what it is, right? And sure, yeah, there is a population problem, no doubt about it. I think a lot of the population problem is going to be solved with automation, and we'll, you know, figure that out. The solution is not to have our country invaded by third worlders who have no rhyme or reason or understanding of how our society works. The Telegraph says, after Epping, we must re-examine this concept of human rights for all. Says democracy's in peril. This is coming from the UK. If leaders fail to put their interests of the citizens first, we have to re-examine human rights for all, which is a stupid communist phrase. Nothing much that is being said now will be relevant to the general election years ago, but the Court of Appeals ruling in Bell Hotel has a significance that goes far beyond this upcoming election. But first, she wants to get into it. Now, this is going to be resolved in one way or another, and they must know how much damage this is doing. When Home Office lawyers made the case for appeal against the High Court finding, they apparently argued that the human rights of asylum seekers were more important in law than the concerns, which is to say the complaints of the local people. Specifically, they said that this must be so under Article 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which the government was bound. We have to. The Court of Appeal clearly accepted this justification for the Home Office. Well, the law says that they have to accept illegals. Okay, does the law provide any benefits to the Englishmen? And if the law doesn't, then what are the English doing following the law? What country is it? Is it really their country at all? It is time to look very carefully at this concept of human rights, this author says, which, in spite of having become highly politicized, is regarded by the courts as the ultimate measure of all legislative priorities. It's a made-up phrase. It is amorphous. You can't just define it. You have a human right to all of this stuff. They just make it up. You have a human right to housing and medical care and all these things. The problem is once you do that and you say, well, some people have that human right. Well, in America, it's a human right to have health care. We don't deny that to anybody. Okay, so does that mean every single person who breaks in now we're responsible for their healthcare costs? That creates perverse incentives, and a society can not indefinitely provide resources that it doesn't have, and we're already broke. Now here they cite the Declaration of Independence. This is great. What the term refers to is the specific doctrine of universal, inalienable rights. That's not what it means at all. An idea conceived in the 18th century and articulated most explicitly in in the sacred documents of the Declaration of Independence. These are rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There's nothing in there about human rights, about, being granted asylum in America or something like that. Okay, human rights has been perverted. It's extended these very basic, fundamental, natural rights that we acknowledge exist and perverted them into government policy prescriptions that have nothing to do with the rights at all. Don't say that this is like a basis for it. You have perverted it. The idea of the inalienable nature of human rights is considered to be a fundamental principle of modern democracy. Now, not only does it limit the powers of heads of state, but it commands them to protect the liberties to which every person is entitled. Which, yeah, it's true, but we have a system where we pit them all against each other because we don't trust them. Okay, we have checks and balances because we don't just give it off to some entity. We don't say, okay, government, your job is to protect us and protect our liberties. We say, no. Those are our liberties. Those are our rights. We are granted those. You don't protect those and hand those out to us. They're ours. We give you consent to govern us. And if that system becomes problematic, then we have a right to petition our government for a redress of grievances. And that's all in our Constitution. So we command them and trust them to do it. We have checks and balances. We want the elite parties against each other. We want everybody to fight amongst themselves because that means we get more liberty as the lower class, non-oligarchs. But surely there's a problem here. How can democracy be sustained if an elected government, which must be accountable to its citizens, puts, quote, human rights of all the peoples of the world ahead of the wishes of its own population? Yeah, it's a great question. And I guess you can't talk about it. Now, I know that is a contentious proposition, which is crazy. It shouldn't be at all. Why is that even complicated? The local demonstrations at the migrant hotels have rarely involved more than a few dozen protesters, but opinion polling shows a majority of respondents opposed to the housing of illegal migrants may be inflamed by random events. But let's assume for the sake of argument that there is very considerable popular outrage over the number of migrants being thrown in our properties, and resentment is bubbling up. What is the responsibility of the government? Does the reverence for human rights of everyone on the planet supersede the obligation of its own population? Well, they're asking good questions over there now. Interestingly, the appeal court judge cited as a reason for this, saying it could provoke further demonstrations. If we don't do this, then more people can come out and there'll be more lawlessness. Wild times over there. So we have at least one journo. Her name is Janet Daly, writing for The Telegraph, asking a very important question. Should we care about Englishmen over foreigners or not? I know it's contentious, but the answer, Janet, is yes, you should. And honestly, the Englishmen and the natural citizens of this homeland hopefully continue to rise up and make their voices heard. Now, are they too far gone? Has the invasion already occurred to an intractable position? They don't have firearms over there, so is there really a threat of a revolution? I mean, I think that there, of course, is. And, the Europeans, they've had a lot of revolutions over there. They don't play around from time to time. So we'll see if they push back against this hollowing out of their nation state, their homeland, their community, their culture, everything that their ancestors have built for thousands of years. Their history is much longer than American history. And now it's all being watered out and rewritten because of GDP numbers. We'll keep our eye on it. Shout out to our friends in England. Godspeed.